Earthbound travelers. Welcome to today's episode of Cast Guidance. Episode number 18, The Great Debates. Loch, we've been doing this for 18 episodes.
It does not, it seems both longer and short. Time is soup, the world is meaningless. All right. It seems like we've been doing it longer, but
it does. It does.
It also seems like we just started doing these, but yeah.
Before we get started, we do have some very important announcements. First, we are for mature audiences. If you are not mature audiences, you want to leave, because we do use profanity and talk about heavy topics. Secondly, we are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with any TTRPG creator, publications, any of that. We're just two individuals giving our questionable opinions. I am Tyr the DM, the world's okayest DM, and with me as always is Loch Clark, the unruly one. Hi, Loch.
Hi, everybody.
Good show today. But before we get to the show, you want to do the dice?
Oh, I suppose I can do dice. Gamers, it's me, Loch Clark. Yeah, because I just introduced myself like 3 seconds ago, so you should have remembered that. Anyway, we're happy to be partnered in this endeavor with Level Up Dice, fine purveyors of luxury dice for all your sexy dice needs. And I cannot recommend highly enough our ambassador dice, the blue cat's eye stained glass glyphic dice. They are amazing. We have rolled so many nat 20s. So many. Since we got these dice. It is crazy. Tyr's showing them on the screen. They are pretty. And you want to go check these out, and you can check out everything else that's on the Level Up site by going through our portal, because it helps us out, makes us look better for the company, and you want us to look good for the company, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go to http://bit.ly/W, D, dice. It's all one word. bit.ly/WOTD dice. Go and check those out, and you will not regret it, and you can check out everything else that's in the store while you're there. And we would like to thank the person who provided the music for our show. That is our very own Patrick Taylor. Thanks, Pants!
Awesome. So today, the great debates. We've decided we were going to tackle some of the debates that's been the debates that's been going on social media and has people rattling sabers, if you will.
So if you guys have a topic, if you have an argument that you see in D&D forums online or whatever that you are just sick of hearing, put it in the chat. We'll talk about it. We'll end that argument once and for all. Because our judgments on this show are legally binding, and the entire gaming world must abide by whatever it is we decide is the correct answer.
Exactly, because we are just that fucking awesome.
That's right. It's all legal and binding. So, so let us know if you have any of these topics. We're going to tackle some of them. There's been one that's been real big recently. We will definitely hit that one. And then there's some just great all-time debates, some of which we've already covered on the show, but we're gonna touch on again.
Because apparently people didn't get it the first time. Hey, it's Dragon Goddess 1066. Hey, and Holo the Wise Wolf used to be Rock's wife. Hey, and Black Dragon 13,000 and Lollipop Gestapo. We have familiar faces.
Yay! So my brain is very keen on this today. In particular, because I've been world building all week. Because as many of you know, yes, Black Dragon, yes, that is the question. We will tackle that question.
It is legal as fuck, and it should be done as often as possible.
It is unfortunately legal. He's unfortunately right there with the first part. The second part makes him a horrible, horrible human being. I sound sick because I am an asthmatic and a fat man, and I slept with my head in the wrong position last night, apparently, and snored real hard all night, and it feels like my uvula is swollen from vibrating because I was snoring so hard all night. So we've got this lovely cup of soup right here that I'm drinking to help the heat loosen everything up and get my throat back to feeling better. Yeah, so there are a bunch of arguments and things that we're going to cover today. I wish the answer were different, Black Dragon. I really do. I really do. Where do you want to start, Tyr?
Well, we can start with chat because we've already got actual.
Oh yeah, I just saw lollipops. All right. So all right.
Let's dust off the soapbox.
There's something I want to say here, but I'm afraid if I say it the way I want to say it, that it will derail a lot of other debates we might have over the course of this episode if I just say it this way. But fuck it. We can always cast tangent if we run short, right? When you're playing D&D, you are world building. You make and inhabit the space and make it your own, right? That's what you're doing, and the DM kind of guides that. And so, what the world looks like is up to the DM's interpretation of what a D&D world looks like. And you know what? If your world wants to go strictly by exactly what it says in the book, that tieflings can only be 2 colors and don't have wings, and that dragonborn don't have tails, forgive. That's your prerogative. It's your world. You built it. You get to run it the way you want. However, that doesn't give you the right to poo-poo someone else's world because they chose to make it different. Because a player came to them and said, I want to play this race, but I want this difference. This is how I want my character to look aesthetically. And the DM said, cool, go with it. That means that now exists in that world because the DM approved it. And that's it. Period. The end.
I will expand.
All right, one last thing. I'm going to say one last thing because I just said that I spent an entire week world building. Now, the reason I was world building is that many of you know that Tyr has to be on call every fourth weekend or one night, and it rotates. So that means some of us are having to fill in with one shots. And so with that in mind, I started writing a one shot, and then I started building a world around that one shot because I realized that my one shot was going to be more like a 5 shot, which is good because I'm sure I'll come back up in the rotation. And it's built so that each one is its own encapsulated one shot. It doesn't have to be the same characters playing it, but the audience will get an arc in the story if they watch all 5 of the episodes when they eventually get made. Is the idea that I've had. And so I've been world building. And you know what the first thing I did in my world building was? Because it didn't fit the story I wanted to tell. I took the alignment system for dragons and I threw it out the fucking window. Because the color of a dragon makes no difference on its personality. Not in my world. Because it did not fit the story I wanted to tell. So I just threw that shit out. like the baby with the fucking bathwater. We didn't need it. So, so there you go. Hollow the Wise Wolf. I 5-shot. That's how I like my orders from Starbucks too, with 5 shots of espresso. That's the right way.
I'm fighting sinus junk, so if I sound off, I apologize. But I have to say something.
Yes, please rebut.
I'm not rebutting, I'm agreeing, but I'm just going to put it in stone cold plain so there be no mistake. What goes on at my table does not affect your table in any way, shape, or form, so get off my ass. If I want to have fucking flying dragonborn, if I want to have chartreuse-colored tieflings, if I want to have mixed genders, if I want to have people with disabilities, if I want to have NPCs or characters from the LGBT community, whatever it is, what happens at my table doesn't affect you a damn bit unless you're at my table or you're watching my game, so you can just shut your fucking mouth and go the fuck on.
And if you're watching our game and you don't agree with what Tyr does at the table or what us players do at the table, because you have to remember that a lot of the creative things that happen in the game are also us. They're, we are collaborative storytellers. So if you don't agree with the decisions that are made at the table, with the choices that are made at our table, you can feel free to change the fucking channel.
Can I get an amen?
You don't have to keep watching it if you don't agree. It's that simple. And if and like he said, the only way that what happens at our table can affect your table is if you let it. Which means that it might affect that one of your players comes to you and says, "Hey, I saw this cool thing they did over on Will of the Dice, and I want to do that with my character here. Can I be a blue orc?" And you might go, "No, orcs aren't fucking blue." That's how you stop it from affecting your table.
Done.
Your player came to you with an ask and you said, "No, I don't think so. It doesn't work in my world." There, done. You've answered your own fucking question. Congratulations.
Ta-da. Debate solved. Because I haven't got any, knock on wood, I haven't got any hate mail about stuff like LGBT and stuff. But I'm waiting. I'm waiting. The gender fluid shopkeepers or the polyamorous shopkeepers or the non-binary twins.
Oh, wait. Just wait, guys. Just wait. My next character. I'm just saying. You thought, Karak being a pansexual, polyamorous orc, that's nothing. Just wait for my next character is all kinds of weird, messed up gender, sexuality wise. It's a whole thing. You just wait.
So
that's one of my complaints.
So hope that answered your question, Lollipop. Hope we help settle that debate. If you don't like it, fuck off. Not you, Lollipop. I'm just saying in general. If you don't like what we're doing, fuck off.
Yeah, and you don't have to use what we do at your table. I want to, I'm gonna bring up the most beloved / controversial figure in D&D. Well, okay, maybe number 2. I mean, Dritz might be first on that list, actually. But Matt Mercer. Look what Matt Mercer did with Dragonborn. I mean, yeah, he said yes to a player that wanted to play a differently colored tiefling, and that's cool. But look what he did with Dragonborn in his world, which I believe also came about because of a player wanting his Dragonborn to have a tail. Matt created an entire second sub-race of Dragonborn called the Dragonites that have no tails. They're the classic Dragonborns, and he made all of his Dragonborn they're Ravenites, something, I don't know, it's something. But so, and he made it a class system. He made it part of the story of the race in his world. Why do some have tails and why do some not? And in that one move, did it better than Star Trek did with Klingons without forehead ridges and Klingons with forehead ridges.
Yep.
Well, I really did appreciate the eugenic storytelling. I am still salty at Brennan and Braga for doing a thing that Gene Roddenberry said do not do, which was try to answer that question. I enjoyed the B'Elanna Torres that her daughter is the key and had to go through you know what, they wrapped it up real nice and they made it a cool thing, and I really enjoyed playing it in Star Trek Online. But damn it, they shouldn't have touched it in the first place. Some questions are just better left unanswered, but some questions, like, you go, hey, this is my world, and I'm going to make a cool thing over here, and it's going to be cool. Because why do some Dragonborn have tails and some don't? Here's why.
Well, I created Now, I can't say I created this race. This race was handed down to me from my DM many, many, many moons ago. Long ago when it was long ago and this our world was new. But they're called Dragonlith. And they are essentially Dragonborn that can fly and have tails and can use their tails as a weapon. It's not a huge weapon, it's not like it does major damage. But, they're mostly extinct now, thanks to the cataclysms. But they were there, and I played them, and people enjoyed playing them, and they weren't game-breaking. Oh God, a creature can fly, that breaks the game. No, it doesn't. There's ways to handle that shit. So, yeah. Moving on. All right,
what do we want to talk about next?
Wizard spellbooks.
Okay, so this is the one that has been raging across the internet for it seems like weeks now. It's starting to die down finally, and that's why we're going to talk about it, I think. But it's I have opinions, so if you want to go first, I'm
Oh no, I want to hear your opinions first.
All right, here we go. Yes, wizards can tattoo their fucking spell books on their bodies for multiple reasons. And look, no, I'm going to save that one for a minute. All right, so here's first. Wizards of the Coast fucking published rules for this in 3.5. It is a staple in the Forgotten Realms. Kind of. Sort of. It's a long debate to have. The Red Wizards of Thay in the Forgotten Realms have magically imbued tattoos that increase their arcane power. It's not their spellbook, per se. However, but they still... Red Wizards of Thay is where the idea... is the first instance. I won't say it's where the idea came from, because there's lots of real-world historic examples. But Red Wizards of Thay is the first in D&D universe reason for magical tattoos to exist. They're the progenitors of them existing in D&D. They're the first example. And so in 3.5, in the Complete Arcane Handbook, Wizards of the Coast published rules that said how many pages you can fit on each portion of your body, and then gave a time and gold piece cost based on the 3.5 crafting system, and how long it would take to get done and how much it's going to cost in the magic to infuse it and all of that. And it was not a cheap process having your spellbook tattooed on you. And then there were, if you were doing it yourself, there was the added difficulties of the areas that you can't see unless you're using a mirror or looking through the eyes of your familiar. So, yeah, it is a difficult and expensive process. But you know what? Like we said, if it's a cool fucking hook for your character, you as the DM should look at it, and you shouldn't look at it adversarially. You should not look at it and think to yourself, "Oh, they're just trying to screw me out of the ability to fuck with them by stealing their spell book." You know what? If stealing the wizard's spell book is the only trick you got in your DM bag to fuck with your wizard, maybe that group needs a new DM. I'm sorry. There's plenty of... You know what? So if I'm the DM and they come to me and they want to tattoo their spellbook on their body, even if they want to start play with a tattooed spellbook, I'm going to roll up a chart. I'm going to create a chart. Actually, I'm sure I can probably find one online. I'm going to find a chart. I'm going to make them roll on it every time they take above a certain number of hit points worth of damage at once. And every time and they roll, and we'll see how the ink fared. Did one of the pages of your spellbook just get fucked up because you took damage? Not every time you take damage, you got to take a certain amount of damage. But then we're going to roll to see if that page, and then we'll figure out a cost to fix it. There, look, I'm still fucking with my wizard. I can still make interesting things happen to the party that they have to deal with without resorting to the one trick I got is steal his spell book that he, now that he's got it tattooed. Why
are you stealing? My turn.
Yeah, go for it, please.
Get up on my soapbox. Why the fuck are you trying to steal your wizard's spellbook anyway? You're not trying to steal your fighter's weapons. You're not trying to cut off your monk's hands. You're not trying to take away the very thing that they use to defend themselves. So why are you getting pissed off about this? In 2nd ed, I created a race called the Omakashi. They were monk-like magic users. They were fighter mages, basically. It was a dual class, and all of their spells were tattoos. All of them were. Not once did it ever break the game. Not once did I ever find issue with finding good ways to fuck with my players. There's so many ways. There's, like Locke said, you can have the tattoos damaged. Remember, in 5e, if you cast the spell from your spell book instead of preparing it that day, because you can cast from your spell book, that motherfucker disappears. Guess what? Same thing with the tattoo. Anti-magic areas, no magic areas, wild magic. There's so many ways. There are so many ways to fuck with people. And
counterspelling their heels, for example.
Counterspell the shit out of their heels as often as you can. That is I will die on that hill.
I'll murder you on that hill.
It all feels like a DM versus player mentality to argue about that. And I'm sorry, that is not what D&D is about. And if you're a DM that feels like you're versing your players, do me a favor. Take your Dungeon Master Guide, close that son of a bitch, throw it over your shoulder, and go find something else to play. Because
go play a game that has Thaco in it.
Because you're the reason that people have a bad taste about D&D. There are so many horror stories out there about my DM was this and my DM was that, and it's because you have a you versus the player's mentality, and this game is about collaborative storytelling. It's about working together to tell a story. Yes, when you create encounters to challenge your players. You even create encounters that may kill your players. Hell, you may even decide that the story requires that your players have to die. But that doesn't mean it's you versus them. That doesn't mean you should be shooting down every idea they have or taking away any advantage. Hell, it's not even advantage. It's just a form of transporting their spells. If you're looking to take away shit like that, well, fuck you. That's all I got to say. If you play DM versus player mentality, fuck you, the horse you rode in on, the dog that followed you into town.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. All right. I'm gonna say something. It's gonna be controversial. This is when I say shit like what I'm about to say. This is the moment that I think someone is gonna snip this, and then 10 years from now at a convention, when we've gotten the respect we deserve, someone's gonna play that clip, and the whole audience is gonna turn on me, or they're gonna cheer and back me up. I don't know which. We're gonna find out. If you have a DM versus player mentality as a DM, you need to go back to playing second edition. You need to go back to playing with THACO. Or you need to go back to when your race and your class were the same goddamn thing, because that's what D&D was back then. And you know what? Those books fucking exist. Those modules exist. You go find yourself some fucking boomers that want to play that shit with you because they're nostalgic for that kind of D&D. Nostalgia is the worst, most toxic impulse, by the way. But you find those people and you go in your corner and you play the fuck with them because that's the way they want to play, and leave the rest of us to enjoy our fucking game.
And guess what? What we do still doesn't affect your game.
Amen! And what you do doesn't affect ours. So fuck off to your corner and do what you want to do and play your shitty us versus them game. And you know what? Hold on. Something you said in there like struck me because I realized because of an item that Karak has, and an item that he purchased for pants at one point. Your player tattoos their spellbook on their body. Some of it's on their arm or on a leg, whatever. All right. There's a difference between making your players sweat and being adversarial to your players. You want to challenge your players. You want to put them in interesting situations. You want to make them go, oh, fuck, when you bring something out sometimes. If you're a mage with your fucking spellbook tattooed on your body and a guy with a sword, axe, or whatever of sharpness walks into the room, you should be shitting bricks. Because on a nat 20, they have a chance to just remove a limb. There goes an entire chapter of your fucking spellbook. And I'm sorry, if I'm DMing, and a player has their spellbook tattooed on them, you better believe I'm going to have them have documented where every spell is on their body. So we know. That's it's like numbering their feathers for just such an emergency. There are plenty of things in the world that can fuck with a tattooed spellbook. Why do you care so much if your player wants to do it? All right, I'm done.
My turn.
Getting off my soapbox. Go for it.
This one, how this is still going on and how I'm still seeing this shit on social media is beyond me.
Boomers.
They are talking still and debating still about playing characters with disabilities in the game, how they don't belong in the game, how we're just a bunch of snowflakes trying to, make the game all this and that. Look, motherfuckers, I am a disabled individual. I have a power chair that I am supposed to be using if I walk more than 20 steps. That's from the doctor. That's not... I have debilitating back injury. I'm not supposed to be walking. I'm not supposed to be lifting. I'm not supposed to be doing anything. Maybe, just maybe, I want a chance to be the hero in my fucking chair. There's nothing wrong with me wanting to play a character that is not disabled. But when we play this game as players, we put a little bit of ourselves into each one of our characters. And we see ourselves having those heroic moments. I don't give a fuck who you are. We see ourselves having those heroic moments. Maybe, just maybe, I want to see myself having a heroic moment with my fucking wheelchair. So, again, what I do has no effect on your table. So if you don't want to use these rules, if you don't want to allow disabled people and stuff in your game, you know what? That's fine. It's your game. You're allowed to do whatever the fuck you want to in your game. But don't you sit there and tell me how to play mine. My fun does not depend on you, and your fun does not depend on me. So quit trying to make it a debate about how it's just a bunch of snowflake political bullshit. Maybe it's people just wanting a chance to see themselves in a fucking story. There.
Amen. Amen. Now, the greatest reply to that fucking argument that I have seen online, and I wish I knew who said it so I could give them credit, but I have seen it pop up multiple times in my feed now, was, do you really think that someone built this huge underground dungeon full of traps and monsters and shit, and that the only ways in or out of it is a tight single person steep ass staircase? No, they had to move a lot of stone in here. There are ramps, motherfucker, because moving stone through a dungeon to finish building the dungeon is gonna get fucking tedious if you gotta take giant pieces of stone down the stairs all the goddamn time. There are ramps. The builders had to use the ramps to get the stone in and the big monsters and shit they put in here. That's how they got here, was on the fucking ramps. So if you think that the dungeon just has to have stairs, well, then you're being fucking myopic. Also, that was the mini I was showing, my fig, that's my bugbear. He's a bugbear monk in a wheelchair. Bugbears have reach, so I thought it was hilarious. He can attack all 10 feet around him with his ridiculously long arms while he rides in his combat chair. And because he's a monk, he does, skateboard-like tricks with his combat wheelchair to smack people in the face.
And again, what it comes down to, my fun, your fun, they are independent of each other. What I do at my table has no impact on you. So quit trying to tell me how to play the game or that, because I want to make a Elven Ranger Archer in a battle chair that I'm somehow ruining the fucking game. Fuck you. That's bullshit. And I pray to God you or no one you love ever has to deal with being disabled, because the amount of shit you have to put up with on a daily basis, and then people start attacking you in your fucking hobbies? No, fuck that.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that it's worse or that the level of bullshit that I get to deal with is harder or significantly different than the level of bullshit you get to deal with. But I do want to address one thing about disabilities, because I also am disabled. I have Crohn's disease. I don't have a colon because of it. Not all disabilities are fucking visible, guys. So, I've got a handicap sticker on my car, and I get looks a lot when I use a handicap parking space and I get out of my car, and I look hale and healthy and fully abled because I present that way. Not all disabilities are visible. So, don't give people shit for using the tools that have been offered to them because they don't seem disabled enough for you. Disabled enough falls into that fucking category with queer enough for me. It's gatekeepery and bullshit, and you can fuck off with it.
Balls Too Wild has a great comment. Players should be able to roleplay as whatever they want to. If you want to bring in your personal strengths, do it, as long as you're respectful to the players at the table. All the power to you. Exactly. That's what we're saying. That's exactly what we're saying. Thank you for that comment, Balls Too Wild. And you're talking
absolutely.
about the gatekeepery shit. I was accosted verbally at a Kroger for using one of their little power scooters to do some shopping the woman came up and started ripping me a new asshole, calling me fat and lazy. When I'm sitting there with a cane, my vehicle is parked in a handicapped parking space with my wheelchair on the back, and her husband's trying to get her to shut up, but she won't shut up. And then when she finishes before I can say anything, her husband's like, he's the one that's parked in the handicapped spot with the wheelchair. I think he's legitimately handicapped. And she's like, well, you just never know with people these days.
You know what? Who the fuck cares? It does not affect your life, even if someone were faking their disability for attention or to get a better parking space. You know what? I don't give a fuck. Yes, it takes away a handicapped parking space from someone who actually needs it, and that's on their conscience, not mine. You know what? I'm not going to go bust their balls about it, because I don't know. I don't know what their disability might be. So I'm not going to go, and you know what? By law, not fucking allowed to ask. You know what? Like this is the fucking, you know, it's the food stamps argument, it's the WIC argument, like, you know, but so people abuse the system. So fucking what? There are hungry people who need that food. I would rather feed, you know, 1,000 people who are pretending or abusing the system to feed 10,000 people who actually need the fucking food. Hell, to feed one kid that actually needs the food. One kid. I'll let 1,000 people skate by and game the fucking system. I don't care. Because you know what? Overall, we're doing good. You know, when you know, you see that struggling mom trying to buy food for their newborn, and they're trying to use WIC, but the product they picked up isn't the exact right one that WIC will cover, and someone in the line is kind enough to offer to just pay for that woman's groceries so that because she's having a hard enough day already, and then someone else in the line, and I have seen this shit happen, someone else in the line says, well, how do you know she wasn't scamming you, just waiting for someone to ask? Who the fuck cares? You bought a lot of groceries for a mom and her kid. You did a good thing. It doesn't matter if it's a scam or not. Feel fucking good about it and don't worry. Be nice to people. That's the entirety of it. Be nice to people.
Don't be a dick. Let's just do that. That's
yeah.
Just it.
The Wheaton constant.
Yeah, don't be a dick. Period.
Okay, let's talk about something different. Something else we can yell about. No, we won't yell about this one for long because we did an entire episode on it, but we can real quick knock this one out. The alignment system. Still hearing arguments about that shit online. Sorry. The eye roll was amazing. It was epic.
I have come to the conclusion that people just want shit to fucking bitch about. When you will sit and cause week-long arguments, not open discourse, not productive discussion, but arguments that break down to name-calling and attacking a person's personal life and all that, as something as archaic, outdated, and useless as fucking alignment. Alignment in 5e is a fucking guideline to give an idea of how the character should act. That's it.
Literally has zero in-game ramifications. Zero. I think the good versus evil part might have some in-game ramifications still, but that is the only vestige left over. Look, with 5e, they took out almost everything that affected or was based on alignment in the game. They stripped it all out. The alignment system is just a vestigial tail at this point. It's a pinky toe. It's there for looks. It doesn't serve a real purpose. It's your appendix. You can live without it.
Everybody keeps saying, what do you want to see in 5.5 or 6, whatever they're going to call it when they bring it out in 24. I want the fucking abolishment of the fucking alignment system. Because the only thing it serves to purpose is if someone is playing a lawful good or lawful evil character and does something to break their alignment, and that would have ramifications on their fucking class. If you're a lawful good paladin serving a lawful good god, and you go and knowingly do chaotic evil shit, it's going to catch you. That's okay, in my world, it's going to catch you.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that one. I was just gonna pedantically point out that under the new system, paladins serve an oath, not necessarily a god, and so therefore the paladin has to actually. The paladin can do chaotic and evil shit as long as it doesn't actually, even if they're a lawful good paladin, like on paper, they could do chaotically evil shit, but as long as it doesn't directly violate the oath they made that gives them their powers. That's a real pedantic argument, I know. Here's the thing. The alignment system is there because we're used to it being there. And the good or evil thing still affects a few things. They haven't figured out how to throw all of that out completely yet. But really, what your alignment should be is a role-playing guide. It's a way to let the DM know what your character is at its core. And I have argued for years that it should be replaced with a selfish, selfless, and
compassionate.
Yeah, there's the other word I usually use has jumped out of my head. Selfish and selfless are the good and evil, and the order and chaos is the lawful and chaos is scrupulous and unscrupulous. Replace it with that system. Because it tells the DM. It probably tells the DM more because good and evil, law and order are subjective depending on where you're standing. Because in this country, the law says this thing, or the religion says this thing, but in this country, the law and the religion say that these things are permissible. And so, am I lawful good if I take my ideals from country A that say this is law, this is right, this is what God said, this is what our laws say, and I go over here to country B with a different culture, a different religion, and I try to enforce country A's law and theology in country B? Does that make me lawful and good?
No.
Right! Like, it's very subjective. It is a subjective system. And should have no basis on gameplay. It's too hard to put into the rules, in my opinion. But the way I the spells like protection from good and evil, stuff like that, things that actually have alignment rules in them that good or evil creatures can't do X or Y with this, those kind of things. If it's affecting a player, that should be up to the DM to look at the consistency of the player's actions over the course of the campaign and go, I feel like you're evil. Or I feel like you're good. Or I feel like the place you're in is one of those things right now, and so this spell is going to affect you. And what it says on your sheet shouldn't fucking matter. That's just a guideline.
Exactly. Balls to Wild, interesting concept. I think alignment helps new DMs sometimes come up with basic encounters. You run into goblins, they're evil, so the book says. This is going to segue into my next bitch. This is a debate that I saw going on last night, and I was good. I restrained myself from getting into the middle of it because it broke down into just a attacking personal and all that, and yeah. Wizards of the Coast decided that races are no longer inherently evil.
Correct!
Things like Drow and such like that. These guys are no longer inherently evil because it was basically enforcing stereotypes.
Amen! Congratulations, Wizards of the Coast. Good job.
I don't understand why this is a debate. I can't bitch.
I understand why. I'll go ahead and finish your statement, but I understand why, and I will cover that in a moment.
I don't understand why this is such a heated debate. Morality is subjective. Perfect example. You're starving to death and your neighbor has enough food to feed the entire neighborhood, and you take some to feed your family that was going to die. Did you do good or bad?
Chaotic good.
It's just... But it is a debate, and it pisses me off. And the one is like... I hope that R.A. Salvatore sees this and verbally bitch smacks the person, but they said doing this destroys the specialness of Drizzt Do'Urden.
No, it doesn't!
Go ahead, because I can't even conjugate fucking sentences at this point, because I'm just like...
Destroys the specialness of Drizzt Do'Urden. No, the fuck it doesn't! Why is Drizzt special? Because he's the first Drow to break out of the cultural mores he was raised under and go and live on the surface and thrive. He shouldn't be unique. He should not be special. His specialness is that he should be an inspiration to other Drow, that they can break their cultural programming and they can go and live and fit in any society they want to, like he did. Drows aren't inherently evil. They live in a culture that serves an evil deity, and they are matriarchal and abusive in their relationships. This is why they are an evil society. It has nothing to do with the actual people in the society. Those people have chosen to abide what their culture has told them because they don't think they have a choice. Drizzt is the one that shows them that they have a choice. That is what makes him special. If you can't fucking see that...
I got one word for those people that are like, all Drow are evil, all Drow, blah, 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 blah. Illustry.
Yeah, there you go. All right, look. Also, I want you guys to understand the history of the Drow. As written, like the in-world D&D history, how we got Drow. Drow got kicked out by the rest of the elves because the rest of the elves were anti-dragon. And the Drow were like, nah, dragons are cool. And they got booted from the surface of the planet by the other Drow. Which group is evil in that case? The one going, no, dragons are cool. We don't want to hurt them. Or the group kicking out an entire sect of their own people for disagreeing with their cultural belief. Perspective, people. All right, here's you asked why. Why is this debate still going on? There is a one-word answer to that question.
Racism.
Nostalgia. The most toxic fucking impulse. Thank you, John Hodgman. I stole that quote. Look, it's because when I was a kid, Drow were all evil, and now I gotta relearn a thing, and I don't have brain power to relearn a thing that I've known my whole life. So I'm gonna clutch to the way things were when I was a kid because I'm in love with nostalgia. That's the fucking answer.
Oh, we got a great comment. First, sorry I got quiet, guys. I kicked the mute off on my mic to hit the vape so you guys didn't have to hear it. But Balls Too Wild says it makes for better roleplay and storytelling, opens up the play for character types. Now, when building your world, you can create communities that have evil norms like human sacrifice or slavery, but it's the society that is evil, not the species. This is
fucking men.
Amen. You get a gold star.
Look. I'm going to talk about this. This is not the subject for this channel. Generally speaking, we exist in a heteronormative society, which means that a lot of queer people don't wind up realizing they're queer until later in life because of a condition that is called compulsory heterosexuality. And what that means is that society has programmed you in such a way that you assumed you were the default and didn't explore your feelings, and you wondered why. A lot of women who come out as queer later in life, especially because of the way they're socialized, they point to this. They're told they want to find a man, they want to have the picture perfect wedding, they want to settle down. But a lot of those women who are told that from very early on in childhood all the way up, they buy into it because it's been culturally programmed into them, and then as they start feeling attraction towards people, they keep looking at men and going, well, when does the love kick in? When do I feel the butterflies and shit that I'm supposed to feel? And they just keep waiting, and eventually they settle, and then at some point way down the road, they realize that the butterflies come when they look at or have a woman look at them in a way that they feel desired by. They realize, oh shit, that's what love is supposed to feel like. That's what it's supposed to feel like when I'm super attracted to someone. I thought that there was something wrong with me, that there was something broken because I didn't feel the way my friends all felt when I was dating men. And it wasn't until later that I realized that I shouldn't have been dating men because I'm not straight. Right? It's a cultural programming. And so that's what this is. That's what evil should be in D&D, in my opinion. It's not the race that's evil, it's the society that raised them that way. So, yes, Ball's absolutely spot on the point.
Dark Panther 99.99, Drow are pro-feminist society. Yes, they are. They are
Yes.
matriarchy. Women rule. Men are just there. They're there for procreation and cannon fodder, basically. That's what men are for in the Drow society. You know?
Right.
But they're okay with it. It's their society, you know?
Yeah, so, yeah.
I think this is a good place to take a break.
Yeah.
I need some more
It feels like a good place. Yes, I'm almost out of hot beverage to soothe my throat, so that would be good.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, guys. We'll be back in 10-ish and get back up on our soapboxes.
It's a soapboxy kind of day.
back. Thanks so much for hanging out while we took our break. Got our beverages.
Knock shit over.
Throw shit on the floor. Today we're talking about debates that we've seen on social media, throwing in our 2 cents. We are very, very opinionated. And here's the thing. When I first started this whole Wheel of the Dice thing back a year ago, I told people that one of the things that I was going to be doing was that we would be making statements about being pro-LGBTQ, pro people with disabilities, pro, females, pro a lot of shit. And people are like, well, aren't you worried about it costing you viewers? If you don't want to watch my show because the shopkeeper is gay... Okay, let me start over since I was quiet. When I first started Wheel of the Dice, I said it was going to be inclusive. We were going to be pro-LGBTQ. We were going to be pro people with disabilities, pro female equality, all these things. And they were people that actually said to me, well, aren't you afraid it'll cost you viewers? If you don't want to watch this show or our role-playing because the shopkeeper's gay or because there's a ranger in a wheelchair, bye, Felicia.
You're not the audience we want.
We're not the audience we want. It's just that simple. I would rather have 10 people that believe the same way I believed and enjoyed watching the show than 100 people watch it because we conform to some version of a societal norm and exclude the people that I love and hold dear. I'm not going to do it.
Amen. Look, we are a diverse cast. I mean, we're all white folk, so we're not diverse in that way. But the majority of the cast aren't heteronormative, monogamous folk. I was in a relationship with a trans man for 20 years. I am a very outspoken trans rights person online. I am, I'm a bisexual male and I'm outspoken about my queerness. And if that bothers you, that I'm going to play characters that reflect me in some way, yeah, sometimes I play a straight character because I lived in the closet and I know I remember what it's like to inhabit that world, and sometimes it's the right thing for the character. I let the character tell me what their sexuality is, what feels right for that character. But yeah, my personal life experiences are going to influence that character and how I present them. So, my queerness is inherent, and it's going to come through in some fashion with every character I play. And so if you're against people playing queer characters, if you're against people playing trans characters, if you're against... Look, we're playing in a world where polymorph fucking exists, where wish spells exist, where people can legitimately change who they are on a fundamental level if they choose to. Hell, and this is going to bring me to something I've been waiting to spring on Tyr, a rules minutia question. This will be great. The spell reincarnation exists. Druids get it. Zaraj has it in our Sunday game. If you die and you get reincarnated, you can come back as anything, as any race or gender. Your personality is going to stay the same. But if you're a straight male and your character dies and the only path back to being alive available to your character with the party you have and the funds available is reincarnation, and that's how the party brings you back, and you roll and you come back as, even if you manage the roll and you come back as another human, if you come back as a human female, you're now gay. Because you're fundamentally attracted to women. And your character is now female. It makes you a gay character. Because who you're attracted to, who you're attracted to doesn't change.
Mm-mm.
But your body did. Your brain chemistry did. Because you're now in a new body. So, and that's a fun space to explore. There's a lot of meat on that bone for story. So, fucking, that's something that exists in the world. So now here's the rules minutia question about reincarnation. Now, the spell reincarnation says that you have to have the body or a piece of the body, and the person has to have died within the last 10 days. So, here's the question. Say I'm the druid of the party and I have reincarnation. And sitting around the fire one night, I notice character X trimming their toenails. It's D&D. You gotta do that at some point, right? And I pick up a toenail clipping and I drop it into a pouch to have for later. And then that character dies. Can I use that toenail for reincarnation?
It's a piece of the body.
But that piece of the body came off the body more than 10 days ago, but the body died within the last 10 days.
The spell says that you have to be undead within the last 10 days. It doesn't say anything about how long the body part. So I would allow it.
Yeah. That's my interpretation as well. You are calling the spirit back and building a new body for it based on a piece that you had. The piece is a tether point. It is like in a lot of supernatural lore, especially like all right. I know a lot of folks, and I did too. I watched all of it. The TV show Supernatural. In the TV show Supernatural, ghosts were either bound to a location because of something about their death or whatever, or to an object. Well, and salting and burning the body was what got rid of the ghost. So I think it's the same way. The body is all of the body. The body is a tether. Now, that toenail might not be strong enough to keep the spirit anchored on this plane as a ghost, but it's a way to call to that spirit that was once connected to it in the ether and try and bring that spirit back in, and using the spell create a new body. You have to put 1,000 gold pieces worth of material components into it to create the body magically. And then the body chooses its own form, and then the spirit is called to it. So yeah, I 100% agree with your assessment. The way the spell is worded, you just need a piece of the body. It doesn't matter what it is. So you better believe if I'm a druid and I know I'm going to get reincarnation at some point, I'm gonna be keeping locks of hair or toenail clippings or something from every member of my party. So that if that should ever happen, I got 10 days and I already got a piece. That's my thought. It's a way to game the system, but fuck it. The body, he was disintegrated. There is no body. I got a toenail, motherfucker.
There you go. Oh, been a good episode today.
Yeah. A lot of soapboxing, but yeah. Not that I mind.
No, I mean, that was the whole purpose of today's show. Any more questions or comments from chat while we're here?
I got a couple more things we can discuss if chat doesn't have anything readily available for us. While people are posting in chat, this one I see all the time. and it drives me crazy. Atheist clerics. Should they exist?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
I know my answer, but I want to hear your answer before I give my answer. Tyr's got his thinking face on. He's doing the think rock.
I don't think they can, because clerics draw their power directly from their deity. It's not like the paladins that have an oath. Clerics get their power directly from their deity. Everything they do is deity based. That's why they have like their channel divinity and stuff like that. So no, I don't think that an atheist could be a cleric.
I hard disagree with you, which doesn't happen very often. So here's my take on it. I think that yes, okay. Well, all right. Let's back up for a second. One, being an atheist in D&D is a bold choice and an interesting role play, because you live in a world where the gods are nearly tangible. Their presence is quantifiable because clerics exist and can do magic, among other things. So, being an atheist, choosing not to believe in any of the gods, I think atheists in D&D are less, I don't believe gods exist, and more, I don't put my faith in them. Like, you looked at all of the gods in the pantheon and went, well, they're not that much better than us. And I'm not going to put my faith in them, and I'm not going to worship them, and I'm not going to devote myself to them. But I can't deny their presence. I just don't care. And I think that's a fun space to roleplay in. Now, if your class is cleric, I think the way that works is I'm an atheist. I don't put stock in the gods. I believe in myself, and I live my life by certain tenets. And maybe a god has taken notice of me, and that I am living my life by the tenets that god favors the most. That god looks at me and goes, that guy is doing works in the world that I deem as right and correct, and I am going to lay my blessings upon that individual and give them power, whether they actively worship me or are devoted to me or not. So I think there is a place for atheist clerics. I think that it's a bold role-playing choice. And maybe I'm a little biased, because one of my favorite comic books of all time is a book called Rat Queens.
Yes, I'm familiar.
And the cleric in Rat Queens has no deity that anyone is aware of. Now, she was raised in a religious cult that is very Cthulhuian. I don't know, whichever one of those is the appropriate conjugation of that word. Very, great monsters of the deep, unknowable outsiders that will make you go crazy if you look at them. And some of her power seems to come from that source because of the way her magic presents. But you could just as easily argue that that's just the skin that's on her magic, because that's the way she was raised and that's what she thinks that magic looks like. Whenever she's asked about her deity, her answer is always the same. That she doesn't need a deity. She's goddess enough.
And I get that.
And I love that character.
And I get that, but I could not, at my table, allow an atheist cleric. That's just...
And that's, you know what? And like we said all through this, it's your table. You get to choose. And if I brought you an atheist cleric character, I have full faith that you and I would discuss it, and then you would make a ruling and say, no, I don't like that, do it this way instead. Or if you don't like that, you can play something different. You know, that we would come to an amicable conclusion. But in the end, it's about your world and the stories you want to tell in your world. And if that doesn't fit your world, you are fully within your rights to say no to it at your table. But I think there is space in D&D for atheist clerics. I think that the power of a cleric comes from can just as well come from their devotion to their god as their god's devotion to them. And so even if they don't actively believe, that the power can come to them if they are living their life in a way that is in accordance with the teachings of that deity.
I would go, and Black Dragon said this, we could sit down and work together for an agnostic cleric, but an atheist cleric, because, you know, atheist is non-belief. But, you know.
Right. Well, and that's why I prefaced at the beginning that atheism in D&D has to look different, because atheists in the real world are skeptics and evidence-driven people. There is no evidence that a god or gods exist in our world. There is no quantifiable proof. That's why it's called faith. But in the D&D world, faith is a different thing because the gods are quantifiable. So I think an atheist character D&D you have to tweak the definition of atheist.
Yeah, I got you.
It has to be, it's a non-believer. It's someone who doesn't put stock or faith in the gods. And so I think in that connotation, yeah, they're a little closer to agnostic, in just that they sort of eschew all deities because of whatever reason. So yeah, I agree with you that you can't be an atheist as that term is applied in our world. It has to be a tweaked definition because of the way the world works in D&D. But I think there is room for an atheist cleric, and that's just my opinion.
And there will be times that we don't agree. And we have adult conversations about them, and we go on. We don't sit here and call each other names.
You bastard.
I love it when you call me that.
I know. Yeah, so that's, I mean, you know, once again, it comes down to A, don't be a dick, and B, let your players play what they want to play as long as, big asterisk, it fits the story that you are telling in your world.
Yep.
If something a player wants to do for their backstory, for their character story, whatever, their character concept, breaks the world you're trying to put forth so that you can tell this story, then you have to tell them no. But you can tell them no in an adult and kind way and have a reasonable discussion with them and explain to them why this doesn't work in your world.
I can see one instance where this would work in my world. If the cataclysm happens, if the party fails and the apocalypse, if Angermore wins, I could see a rebellious cleric that is atheist, as the surviving gods are trying to prove that they're still alive.
Yeah, and that's great role playing. I don't believe in the gods. The gods failed us. I don't believe in them. So, I don't think they exist anymore. And those gods who are now depowered or whatever, who are clinging on because they are no longer the in power deities in this world, find someone who, whether they want it or not, and go, you are the embodiment of what a follower of mine should be. I'm going to use you as an example to prove to the world that I'm here. And having a reluctant cleric who doesn't believe in their god and doesn't want the power, but is kind of foisted upon them, would be great fucking roleplay.
It would. So what I'm hearing is bring about the apocalypse so you can roleplay it. Okay, I can do that.
No, because my apocalypse character is not a cleric. I'm playing the cleric now. Someone else can have that joy in the. Not that I'm a great healer. Zaraj does way more healing than I do. But Zaraj is also very well built for that. I am. My build is to tank and keep the party from taking damage, and to help kill the monsters as fast as possible, and then heal afterwards. I'm there to keep them alive, not keep them at peak health during a fight. At least that's the way I see my role.
And to those of you in chat, that's the thing that Locke did clarify, that in D&D, atheism would be more like being agnostic than it would be atheism in this world. It would be that, yeah, gods are a tangible thing. You just don't put stock in any of them. What else you got? You said you had more.
Let's see. What else do I have? I had a list in my brain, and then we started talking, and ADHD brain. I now can't find my list. Give me a second. Let's see what we got. Did that one. Oh, well, I mean, there's... We've already settled this on the stream, but because we're doing the big internet arguments, I suppose we should cover it again. Counterspell.
Yes. Possibly.
There's still a raging debate about it, and I don't understand why.
This is one of the few things that me and Jeremy Crawford agree on. You are using a reaction. So if I cast a spell and you cast counterspell and I have the reaction and can cast counterspell, I can counterspell your counterspell.
The big argument that I see against this most often is that is number of spells that you can cast in a round, and whether or not you can cast leveled spells, multiple leveled spells in a round. So. Because a round's the argument is a round's only 6 seconds. You can't cast 2 leveled spells in a round. Or you look. They have a casting time next to the spell for a reason. And if on my turn I choose to cast I'm going to use Karak as an example. We'll pretend Karak has counterspell for just a minute. He got a tattoo that gives him counterspell. I know that does. I don't remember what level counterspell is. I don't think it's a 3rd level or less. So you couldn't technically, by the rules as written, do a spell rot counterspell tattoo. But let's say you can. And I'm only using my cleric as an example because I know his spell list better than anybody else, so I know what casting times are. I don't play wizards often enough to have that shit memorized. So, I cast 4th level bonus action spiritual weapon or healing word on my turn. That's my bonus action. For my action, I then cast a cantrip, because that's the only other spell I can cast on as an action when I have used my bonus action to cast a bonus action casting time spell. And then, I'm sorry, hold on a second. So, go lay down. What are you doing? Why are you whining? You just want to be on stream, don't you? But then, over the course of that turn, anywhere in that turn, while anyone else is taking their turn, if I have not used my reaction, I can use my reaction. So let's say we're fighting something that takes double damage from Word of Radiance, and we've already been beating up on this thing pretty good. And I cast Spiritual Weapon. I hit him with the Spiritual Weapon. I then cast Word of Radiance. And they go, oh, fuck no, I don't want to take double damage right now. Counterspell. They have used their reaction to counterspell. If I have my reaction, I can still then go counterspell. And counterspell their counterspell. Yeah, okay, you can come up. Now, I would be fine if a DM at a table wanted to implement the mechanic, as long as it was done across the board for everybody, that when someone casts counterspell, if you wish to use your reaction to do something about that counterspell, whatever you might want to do, that you yes, that you then have to make like an Arcana check to like a gunslinger duel to see who goes off first, who gets the counterspell off first. I'd be fine with that. However, that does not apply. That breaks game balance in a certain way, because it doesn't apply to me swinging a sword to hit someone as a reaction.
Nope.
If they take their reaction to swing at me, and I have a reaction that lets me swing back, I get to swing back.
And here's the thing, and I'm going to address, Balls Too Wild said it would depend on the first spell. If it's a concentration spell and it's countered, then the concentration will be broken. If I'm casting a concentration spell like Call Lightning, and Loch casts counterspell, and I counterspell his counterspell, and I'm successful, then my concentration spell still holds because it's instantaneous, and you can hold a concentration spell and still cast other non-concentration spells.
Yes. Yeah, casting does not break a spell that you're concentrating on. You can cast other spells and still have that spell up and running. It's the way the concentration system works.
Yep. My whole thing is that reactions fall under their own thing, and it's no different than you casting Call Lightning, then a wizard casts Fireball at one of your party members, and you counterspelling the Fireball as a reaction. It's still happening in the same round. You still have your reaction. So yeah, it's possible, and that's my thoughts on it. Cheers.
Yeah, there. I mean, that's. I 100% agree with you on this one. I think, if you have a reaction available to you, if you haven't used your reaction that turn, you can cast counterspell. At any spell that is cast, including another reaction spell that someone else is casting, like counterspell. So in theory, if both casters have counterspell, the advantage goes to the person initially casting the spell. It goes to the attacker, which is kind of the way all of D&D works, because meet or beat. This is a meet or beat mechanic, basically. I cast a spell, you counterspell. I still have my counterspell. I counterspell your counterspell, and now you don't have a reaction, but neither do I. So it would mean that someone else would have to spend their reaction. And what that does is that's action economy. That's the entire basis for D&D combat in 5e is action economy. So, one person casting counterspell can force the other party to blow 2 of their reactions this turn in order to let that one spell happen.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah.
We got 15. We got 15 minutes left.
Yeah, we've been standing on a soapbox a lot.
Yeah. No, I want to give you a sneak peek at what I've been working on, monsters wise, because I know you and the other party members won't metagame. Because if I sense you're metating, I'm just going to change it up while we're playing, and then we'll be having a discussion after the game. So
wouldn't happen.
You get to pick the Umbrevex or the Shadow Fiend.
You know what? We are gonna we're gonna do this the only way we know how on roll the dice. We're gonna roll for it. Don't fuck me, Ustad. Not that there's a correct answer here. Is that wait? Okay, I thought it was a 1 for a second. I was like, damn it, Ustad. No, it's a 7. So we'll take the first one.
The Umbrevex. Okay.
Umbrevex.
Description: shadow wolf-like creatures with 4 arms. They think werewolf with 4 arms, but made of shadows. That's what they look like. They are chaotic neutral. They have an AC of 20. They have hit points 88 plus 21. They have a speed of 60 feet. Their strength is 18, their dex is 20, their con is 15, intelligence 12, wisdom 12, charisma 9. They are resistant to non-magical attacks. They are vulnerable to radiant energy. They are invulnerable to all shadow magic. They are the hunters of Angramora. They have multi-attacks, 2 claws, 1 bite. The claws melee attacks plus 10 to hit, 3d6 necrotic damage. Their bite, plus 10 to hit, 3d8 necrotic damage. On a successful attack, victim must make a con save of 10 or higher or be infected with the Umbrevex disease. The disease slowly mutates the victim into a Umbrevex and can only be cured through greater restoration or remove curse. Characters that are fully mutated are relegated to NPCs. Infected can make a secondary con save of 15 at 24 hours and a con save of 20 at 48 hours in attempt to fight off the mutation. You are fully mutated after 72 hours. That is the Umbrevex.
Well, that makes me feel good about Karak. Just that I always, since I got the spell, I always keep Greater Restoration in my spell list. I feel real smart right now for having done that.
Let's go ahead and reveal the Shadow Fiend.
All right, if you want to.
I want to. I'm proud of these motherfuckers.
Oh, I fully get that because like, all right, here guys, I'm gonna well, go ahead and tell us about the Shadow Fiend, and then I'll say my thing.
Okay. So the Shadow Fiend. Think Pit Fiend, larger, uglier.
Is that even possible?
Yeah. AC of 21, hit points 300, 30 feet speed, 30 feet fly, strength 18, dex 14, con 20, intelligence 15, wisdom 15, charisma 8, immune to necrotic damage, resistant to non-magical attacks, legendary resistance 3 times per day. Multi-attack, Whip of Thorns, plus 14 to hit, 2d10 plus 10 damage. Claw, plus 14 to hit, 3d6 plus 10 damage. Bite, 14 to hit, 2d8 plus 10 damage. Legendary action, Gaze of Devastation. This only recharges on a 6. So, chances are it's only going off once time. Any creature within 30 feet must pass a 15 wisdom save or take 5d6 damage and lose 1d3 levels. Ooh. Lost levels can be restored through greater restoration.
Ouch. That's
And chat
beat.
has gone silent.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's gonna be a thing. That's gonna be fun. Yeah. I don't want to say anything about those monsters. I really don't. They're great monsters. I'm totally digging them. I'm afraid that if I start talking about them too much, I'm going to cement things in my brain enough that I could accidentally use things that I know now in game. And because I have ADHD, if I talk about other things right now, that information will mostly be gone by the time we start playing. I won't have their stat block still rolling around in my head. Although that only really happens if I've seen the stat block. So not having seen it, it won't stick. It's not as likely to stick. So here's the thing I was going to say. I totally get your want to share the things you've created. Because I've been, as I said near the beginning, I've been world building all week. I've been writing an adventure. I've been outlining the next 4 parts of the adventure, provided the party doesn't, completely derail things in the first episode. And if they do, then I'll have to figure out how to get where I want it to go in a different way. But I think it'll be good. And I want to talk about the world I've built. But I'm going to hold off. So, I'm going to encourage everyone watching. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbors. Tell your mama. I'm going to be running my first game on stream on the 23rd, which is a week from Sunday. I hope you will all tune in to see what I have wrought. Get to see Tyr play, which will be a lot of fun. I think I've got 4 players signed up for this one shot. It's going to be good. I hope you'll all tune in. The teaser I'm going to give you is this. Next week on this show, at the end of the episode, we'll set aside a little time, and I'll talk about the world I've built and what that world looks like. Give you all a sneak preview of the world, and the broad premise of the adventure that's going to happen.
Excellent.
So yeah, so I'll tease you with that now, and next week I will share more of what I've actually been creating and let you guys tell me what you think of the world I've built. I'm really pleased with it. I still got to finish naming everything, which is the hardest part.
Yes.
The part I hate most, coming up with names for things. I've actually enlisted one of my partners for help in that. I'm like, you're good with making up random fucking names for things. Can you help?
Hey, Ren's with us. Sorry.
Yeah. Ren's been here for a minute. Ren started commenting during the cleric, the atheist cleric bit. That's when I first saw her. Hi, Ren. So next week, tune in next week. Stick around to the end of the episode, or show up late. Whatever. I don't know your schedule. I don't know your life. And I will spill some beans about my world and see what you guys think. I'm really hopeful that if this module goes, this is going to be a playtest basically for a module sort of deal. Like if this goes well, I will have a series of adventures that I could run at the drop of a hat for people. And it starts at 10th level and is going to go at least to 18th level, I think, is the way I've got it planned at the moment. Maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go higher than 18, but, I'm I might. It'll depend on when I write the final episode and what has happened up to that point as to what level I let you guys play for that last adventure. I don't know. I might let you be 20s. I don't know. We'll see. The real caveat here, the real like thing that I'm worried about with the way I've written this is there is every chance that the last adventure, the fifth one, is going to be a very short adventure. Not because you're all going to party wipe, but you all just might decide to go, no, that's cool. Like, I'm making a very there is no moral, there is no true good or evil in my world, politically, culturally. There are two very opposing viewpoints in my world, and by the end of the adventure, where you started may not be where you're at in your viewpoint, and you all might very well go, no, go for it, to what would effectively be the big bad evil guy at the end. You know, like, I'm curious to see, like, it could just be me describing for 20 minutes what happens in the world and letting you all have some input, and then we just hang out and talk for a little bit and end our show. Awesome. We'll see what happens.
All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out today. It's been a blast, and, you know, we'll get down off our soapboxes now. Let's remind people who we are, where they can find us, and let's get out of here.
Hi, gamers. I'm still Locke Clark, and you can find me on the Book of Faces and the Twitter Patients at Locke Unruly. That's Locke with an H.
And I'm Tyr the DM, the world's okayest DM. And you can find me on Twitter at Tyr_the_DM. So, guys, just want to say thank you so much for hanging out today. We do this for you. We love doing this with you. Remember, until next time, if someone doesn't know, don't cast aspersions. Cast guidance. Love you guys.